afternoon. Just getting set up on the live stream, getting the chat up and running, all those good things. So in just a minute, we will be looking at the stocks and indexes and all of that fun stuff. And I've been studying hard today for sure on my CMT level 1. Also doing that last night, stayed up late as well, doing that late into the night, and learning all about point and figure, Elliott wave, all sorts of great things, Fibonacci's, you name it, I was studying it. Hey, Bat Scientist, it looks like you were second. Don't kill the messenger. Hey guys, good afternoon. Oh, you know what? Let me post live too on Twitter. Sorry guys. Be there in 2 seconds. Here, let me put it back to the main screen so you don't have to see everything there. All right, so join me live now. There we go. All right, let me bring back the stock chart. And we will be good. All right, so you can see, in fact, I really was studying point and figure, putting the charts up here on, thank you, Artemio. Thank you, grazie, gracias, whatever language, English, whatever it is, thank you for all the hearts. All right, so we've got the SPY up here, and I don't have my Sunday list done yet. I was studying hard, and then I was like, oh my goodness, it's time for me to go and do the list, and everything. So here's the list for today. MHLD, XPEL, IGT, AYRO, Happy Sunday, Samuel. IOMI, WLHCG, and XLRN. Also, I wanted to show you guys on my tweets as well that Canada, it's looking scary, right? So I started this, I got curious about employment numbers with Canada because the unemployment rates seem like they're not being truly reported, because in Canada, here, let's look at this image right here, open up. Okay, so in Canada, this is October, this is September, August, July, and June. So yes, numbers have been dropping, but it's still 1.81 times 1,000, so million, which is 8.9%. Now, if we move forward, nope, that's not what I wanted. I guess I have to close this. Hey, Mark. So they also have this, the CEWS, which is the employee wage subsidy program for people that are not working 100% or receiving all their salary, or maybe they're not working, their business has been shut down. So that has 1.5 million claims attached to it. So if we add that up, that means that there's 3.3 million not working, which is roughly 13% of Canadians. If we look at that, and then I went to go, okay, well, let's see, because I want to invest more in real estate in the next year. So I started looking at mortgage delinquency rates, right? So now it's down at 0.29 for all of Canada. Newfoundland has the highest rate at 0.68. Yeah, Nicholas, we'll go over Nintendo for sure. I know Nintendo and, oh no, Nintendo doesn't, do they have a new console coming out? I know that Xbox just did. Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5, but does Nintendo have a new one coming out? I don't know. I know the Switch came out, but I don't know if they have a new adaptation to that. All right, so looking at unemployment, New Brunswick is pretty high as well, and Alberta as well. So those are the highest regions right there in Canada. And oh, I forgot, I can't do it that way. I have to go all the way back. Here's something else. Canadian banks still have over 254,000 mortgages on payment deferral. So these people are deferring their payments, which means that there hasn't been a really big default yet in Canada. And I did some more research about insolvencies or bankruptcies. They're rising 7.9% in the third quarter. So there were 35,000 which is up 7.79%. So that would be, if we do 35,535, divide that by 1.079, that means that there were 32,900 that were filed in second quarter. So Canadians look like they are going bankrupt at quite a high rate. So I'll do some more research as well about the US and see if I can dig more into that. But it looks like the economy in Canada is not doing that well. Sort of a side tangent there. Okay, let's add things onto our list over here. Let's clean this up. Let's go all the way down to the bottom, clean it all up, and we'll look at everything. Yeah, let me get this cleaned up. I'll put the list on. The cannabis stocks were super hot. All right, let's go. MHLD, XPEL, IGT, AYRO, SOL, IWI. Wayfair looks interesting, very interesting. And then we'll add Nintendo, which Apple, well, I already have Apple on there. LCA, FSR, and COMM. All right. Dun, dun, dun. There we go. All right, so first we'll look at SPY, right? So SPY, we're really kicking around. We've surged higher, and we've had, over here, we had a crazy spike up, highest volume, right? And this trend line's drawn just from these 2 points here. So we've also had its drawdown. This is from the highs, right? So here was our high in September, high in October. We tend to have a spike up in November, and then for election years, it does pull back into that third week. So we might see that this will pull all the way back down here, 245, 246, down to that 21 EMA. You see how it pulls back to it. Well, September was kind of an anomaly, but it pulled back there. And then it somewhat tends to find support. It held it for a little while, and then it just dropped back down, came all the way back down here. So it's bounced off of this red moving average once here, and then pulled down 2 levels further the next time. Same thing back in June. It pulled all the way back down here. So are we going to have another big pullback down to 325? We could still be in that upward motion, but we could be pulling all the way back. Now, if it goes below, you guys know my bear and bull of the 425 on the 45-minute chart. So if we go below 346, definitely bear territory. But look at this. We see it on the 45-minute chart. You see how it seems to be slowing down a little bit too? We're kind of coming up here, and then we just sort of went sideways, right? So when we have this sort of sideways price action, we're going to have a big move one way or the other. Was it buying or selling? Yes, it was a bigger range, 350 to 358, 8 points, but it's still got that consolidation that's happening. And we see on the daily chart, minus this extra day here, we have the volume dropping, right? So are we going to surge higher to all new highs, or is this going to pull back more? Really hard to say definitively. I think if we go above 360, we'll likely be seeing new highs. If we break down below over here, 353, put that on watch. Definitely if we break below the support here, 346, which is also that 346.62 over here, watch out. We'd likely be going down to that 325 area over here, in my opinion. All right, let's undo what I just did. Get rid of this drawing over here. So if you guys are also thinking about real estate investment, wait until the time is right. Just like any good investment in the stock market, wait until you start to see the super prime opportunities. I know I've already talked to a real estate agent down in Orlando, potentially looking at getting a place down there. Something that I don't like about the Qs, right? Hey, this surge when we were all staying at home. Well, we might have another move to being back at home. However, the vaccine is also coming out. So is this going to surge higher? Break up above here, break up above 297. Likely you would have a test here around the 296 area, then 297. Or will we break down further and come down, break below 285, even down here further, 280, 250? Likely we'll be pulling back. This was stronger, and let's look at it on the weekly chart too. Starting to feel like the momentum is slowing a little bit. Even though it's up near highs, it feels, I don't know. We've got more volume happening up here. We had crazy volume on the drop down and big volume here, and we haven't gone up above to set new highs. Hey, Julio. Yeah, potentially, Austin. You could definitely strangle them out, further time out. Give yourself, you might even look into January for potential time frames. I don't know, looking at how far out you want to go. When we did have the pullback here, it was what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks, 6 weeks, 6-week move. So you could look potentially, hey, if we're going to pull back, will it be another 6-week move and we might come down to 201? Right here, that's how far we came down. We came actually all the way down to what would be corresponding to 189. So I don't know, maybe, actually I'm gonna write that down. I'll check out that pricing tomorrow for 189.50, 6 weeks out. And then let's also look, okay, well, when we broke out here, how many weeks? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks to the upside. When we broke out here, we had many more weeks, but how far did we surge, right? We went up here in 5 weeks, we'll say 6 weeks, 11 points, 5%. Where did I measure? Here to here. Was that where I measured? No, I measured down here. Here to here. This was 37 points or 14%. So here, let's go conservative. Let's do 10% up. We're looking at 30 points, 301. So maybe 301, 6 weeks out, and 189.50. I have no idea about pricing on those, but just looking at that, excuse me, not 301. That would be up to, this is totally confusing me with 3012 here. 327. So 327.50 for 6 weeks out. Why not, right? Check out the pricing. We'll see. Whichever wins, wins. I'll add that on fastly. I know you keep asking every week. You ask me about PLTR. All right. And let's look at the Russell. I don't have Dow Jones on here. So Russell, look at, we hit, this was a weekly trend line that we hit and it rejected. Isn't that interesting, right? This is from the lows over here and we hit it and rejected it. Let's also throw DIA up, Dow Jones. All right, right here. And we've got a big gap to fill. And let's do this. Since that worked on that one. Huh, look at that. From the lows of the upward trend back in January. Let's see if that's... Huh. Are you guys seeing a pattern? Back in January, we didn't really have, okay, here to here. No. The only one that's not following the same almost, wait, almost over here at 302. Isn't that interesting? That all three of them pretty much had, they almost tested the trend line. Well, the Qs is the only one that didn't test the trend line from the upward trend back in January, February, where we broke down. Huh, interesting, right? Let's see if Apple, let's draw that on the weekly on Apple. So I was messing around with Apple over here. So Apple, we have this upward trend line right here. Let's get rid of this one. We don't need that. And let's look back at January. Right, January. It's going to be interesting. No, surged way above it. Right? Yeah, way above it. So the Apple doesn't work. All right, so looking at Apple. Oh yeah, you know what? I'm good, Asif. I have it pretty. It's that today is cold and rainy up here, so I just have a bit of a sniffle. Do you guys almost see this? It sort of looks like a Head and Shoulders, actually. Sort of a try like one like this. Right? Here's a shoulder. Here's the head. And here's the shoulder, right? And then a bit of a trend line right here. Hey, maybe if we drop back down, we curl down here, maybe we're going to come back down further on the 45-minute chart. Maybe we're going to come back and pull back on our weekly over here to 108, or even down further. Maybe we'll come back down and test the 97 area for Apple and this trend line that we established back in January. For Apple, January to February. If we drop to the downside, if we go to the upside, you guys know I've been saying, hey, I think that we would likely see a 142 area if we continue to the upside. If we start to break down, potentially down to 97 over here. Also, when I was messing around with point and figure, I've been playing around with this, learning all about it, which is awesome. That's not where I wanted to go. That point and figure, I'm going to do a video on it, I think, that talks all about how point and figures will take the time frame out of it and just looking at reversals and price action. Yes, Kyle. Actually, Mark put it in there. There's been some big price prints on Apple, and when we're looking at the volume on our weekly chart, you can see it's also dropping off, right? If we just hide this, or just ignore that, since we had the high, the volume has dropped off except for when we had the spike and we hit this trend line. If we have that confirmation that we're going to increase, you would think that on the breakout of this trend that we could have higher volume to encourage that trend to the upside, such as over here, right, on the weekly chart. Put it to the high here. So right here, we had lower volume. We had big selling and then low volume, and then it surged higher. Right here, we had big volume. We've had big volume pretty much all around here, so it's kind of hard to say. We've also got a bit of a triangle here. If we remove the wicks, we're just above that. And over here as well. So we could pull back easily as well down to 110.67, right? And see, this is a VWAP as well for daily VWAP. And so 110.09, that wouldn't be so abnormal, right? We're looking at this trend line on the weekly chart that's not too far away from the 21 EMA, which is down here at 108.22. So if it pulls back, we might have a $11 move to the downside. All right, let's check out Microsoft as well. So Microsoft, we've been in this upward channel on the weekly chart, shorter time frame. We're down at the bottom bounds of this. We're hitting my 425 EMA, almost potentially ready to put on that bear hat. I totally need to get a bear and bull hat. And when we look back, it's just, I don't know, the market feels weird, right? We were setting, let's do this. I'm going to get rid of that upward trend. This is a daily chart. All right, so we were holding that trend for a little while, and then it pulled back down, and we have this bottom bound down here, and we're in this area. Where's my hat? I don't have a hat yet. I've got to get the bear and the bull hats. And then the soaring eagle. That sounds like a good one too, for when everything's soaring and rocking to new highs. All right, so with Tesla, we have two triangles here. We've got a triangle here, and then another one here, which we've broken down below. Looking at it seasonally, down into the third week of November, we tend to have a drawback, and then it surges higher from there. So keeping that in mind, that tends to pull back down into that third week of November and then surges higher. Look at where we were 26th of November 2019 versus where we are now. Definitely a healthy upward motion chart, minus the pullback that we had in March, which that happened everywhere. So seeing this upward trend, it might have been more like this to propel it forward. And we have this wedge that's going on over here. If we actually move this down here and down here, oops, you can see that we're testing that on the daily, on the weekly chart over here. So we had this nice upward trend, and now we've broken that. It's pulled back down below on the weekly chart. We might also see, let's see here, if we do this, actually, I'm just going to reassign this one over here, that it's still holding that upward trend. We'll get rid of this one. Yes. So we have some activity that's happened, and keeping all of that on watch. Right now it's above us, so we might have more of a movement to the downside. Of course, we had the run up going into the split, and then pull back, came higher, bounced. I'm starting to see Elliott wave here, which is interesting. I've been studying that. So if this is 1, then this is 0.61, then we have 0.328, all that good stuff. It's all coming into play. All right, so let's go forward into the potential list for the week. MHLD. If you guys are just joining me, MHLD, this is my list. I do also provide a watch list on my website. And right now, I think it's down to 67% off if you guys want to try it. Very affordable, normally $44 a month. But I'm going to do basically everything that I'm doing right now on the list. So that MHLD, I create this, I give you the float, I give you the short volume, also what I'm watching on the SPY and QQQ for potential levels to be broken. I'll give you the float and the short volume. What is going to potentially happen with short volume? This is the volume reported from the day prior. So if you guys are interested in signing up and testing it out, just go to CJane Trade. Oops, it helps when I can spell. CJaneTrade.com and use reveal as the promo code. The reveal is because I have a new website that's coming out. I know I've been saying that for quite a while now, but it's all in the works. It's in the growing pains in making it happen. So for this week, we have looking into tomorrow, MHLD, EXPL, IGT, AYRO, SOL, IOMI, WLHCG, and XLRN. So I'll fill out those levels. I also post it all on my Instagram as well. We're going to make this a daily chart and this a 45-minute chart over on the right. And let's go ahead and draw some levels. All right, I didn't mean to do that, but we'll pull it up over here. So 45-minute chart. This had a crazy spike going into Friday. I'm actually going to pull it back to a 15-minute chart. All right. And we'll turn off whatever this indicator is. I don't even know. Oh, it's that VWAP thing that I just put on. Cancel. I'll hide it for now. All right. So support over here right at 170, that round number. And I would look for the resistance breakout. I'm going to put it up here. $2. Give it that round number. Now it has 60 million in the float, so 1.7 and 2. Looks as if we do have earnings that are coming out on Monday. So keep that in mind. This might have been a pre-earnings run. Look at how it stopped right there at 139, right? Did have a post-market high of 269. And when we pull it out and we back it out, where was the 269 from? I see a gap here at 280, right? 269 was the high of this day. So that's where it stopped. Now, if it fills the gap, the day prior, high was 278. Let's see, low of 350. So there might be a big move to come on that one. And Xpel, I don't know why I can't say this one. So let's bring this one forward. That's today. All right. So Xpel, definitely a bit extended on the daily chart. I would move this up to $38, that nice round number. Let's make sure that they can break above it instead of getting in a little too early. Oopsies. There we go, green. Right here, we have 36.40. I always use that as support. Now this one does have 15 million in the float. Actually, I'm gonna move it back down here. This looks stronger to me at 35.40, 35.25, 35.25. Because it does have 15 million in the float. Give it a little bit more room because it's probably going to be a bit more volatile with the lower float. IGT. All right, IGT. Let's pull these down here. Tighten it up. Look for support at 1020 and resistance up at 1080. Maybe it's going to run up to $12. I don't discriminate stocks with low float. I just like to know what I'm trading, Samuel. I want to know if it's lower float, then it's likely going to have more volatility with less people getting into it. Right? That makes sense. So this one had a split back May 29th of 2020. Looks like maybe it was uplisted at that time as well, because it doesn't look like there's any history prior to that. So this looks like a fairly strong support right here at 375. And I would put 420 for the resistance for the breakout. Right there. You can see it was a resistance or support area in the past over there. And this also is a lower float with 21.6 million in it. So you can see that when they have low floats, they can have crazy spike days. This could go to potentially $8 tomorrow, or it could just hang out where it is. Look at how we're almost testing that split day right here. And then it pulled back, then found some volume this day, and the next day gapped up for crazy wild open. So this might have a crazy wild open. It was 61% short volume as well. There was some pretty high short volumes as well. SOL in the semiconductor area, right at $5. After a stock reaches $5, it can see institutional investing come into it. So if this could hold $5, we might start to see more institutions buying it. And that could easily drive the price up with bigger activity. Nice, thank you, Mark. Let's see. Let's go to all. EXPL, taking it to 2241. It's at 38. I'm not sure which gaps you're talking. Oh, this is a monthly chart. What's going on there? Huh? I don't really see the gaps, but all right. So let's go to I. So I Holdings is starting to crawl back down. It's definitely been in an upward trend on the daily chart. Hey, let's draw this upward oops, that's not it. All right, let's undo what I just did. drawing a nice trend over here, right? We could see potentially maybe this will come back down to the 42 area and bounce up from there. It had an upward extreme surge and now it's pulling back down potentially for a better entry. Let's just move that, get that rid of that so you guys can see it a little bit better. All right, so with Santa, I do not. That's a good idea for a video. And DPW, yeah, sure, we'll add that, Kyle. All right, so over here, 4480 for the upside. For resistance, you can see they pretty much tested it back here. It bounced up, hit the moving average, and it sold off. Now we're bouncing off of this one down below, roughly at 44. So 44 for support and 4480 for resistance. OMI, which has 71 million. If I forget to mention the float or the short volume or anything like that, and you guys are curious, like I said, I always post it on my Instagram as well, so you can check it out there. Oops, I want that as the daily chart on the left. All right, let's tighten this up over here. Let's put it 2650, 2660 right here, and 2350 to the upside. Came down, tested the 50 simple moving average on the daily chart. However, we have these moving averages above us and it is in the downward motion. So it might start to bounce around in here and then the bigger price action would determine the move, whether we're going to surge higher above 2350 or break down below 2260. All right, W is really interesting to me. It's starting to really pull back on the daily over here. So looking at that, we came up, bounced up, came down, bounced up off of here and pulled back again. So if we break below this 231 area, let's move this down. Oh, that one's good. This one, oh no, it's down there. Okay. So we break below 233.50 or above, we've got strong support resistance 240 right here. So 233.50 and 240. If we break down, you see it was also resistance in the past. Then look at the massive move once we had that. However, this is kind of an M, right? So if we break this support, next we could be coming down to 209 area and then maybe down to 200. And if below 200, down to 192. All right, LHCG. I just realized I forgot to do the other recording. All good. All right, so LHCG, double bottom over here, right? And look at how on the chart, it's so crazy how they constantly become self-fulfilling levels almost. That, hey, look, it was a resistance that it couldn't break above over here, and now it's a support that there's buyers that are using that as a level to buy off of. So 210.60 and then up above 214. We'll use that round number as well. 214. And this one's lower float. It has 30 million in the float. So 210.60 and 214. Then XLRN. All right, XLRN, be cautious with this one because it is a pharmaceutical. However, it looks like it has almost a double top and it's ready to come back. Has tested this support area over on the left. LHCG, yeah, it's lower float. 56V 12 cylinder, it's lower float for sure. So I wouldn't go, you know, crazy volume. It has 30 million in it. But just because something, you know, you don't have to have crazy volume to get the move for profits. You would want to definitely be aware of how much it's being traded so that you don't go in and you're not more than 10% of the overall daily volume. So if it's trading 151,000, I wouldn't go in bigger than 15,000 shares. That wouldn't be smart. However, if volume starts to come into it, you might see that it really drops quickly. You know, if a lot of selling power comes into it, there's a lot of lower float traders on it, there might have a big move to it. All right, so 113.80 to the downside and 115.80 to the upside for XLRN. And this one has 52 million in the float. That's why I like to look at the floats, 56 V12 cylinder, because it will tell you how quickly it could potentially move, how volatile that might be. All right, going forward, EMG, this is not the one that I wanted because I don't want a delayed one. I want the US one. All right, I'm throwing it out. I don't know, I think I might have mistyped the ticker. All right, so we'll look at Tile. I had Tile on last week as well for a potential move. So let's just look at these on the daily charts. These are my potential longer term swings. So 2 weeks in a row, it performed the week before, then earnings was good. It still performed. It still has that potential to move to the upside. In fact, let's do this. Let's do daily on the left and weekly on the right. So we can see how it's set up, right? Almost a triple bottom here. Once, twice, 3 times. Now there's potential move to come up here and test 850. If it could break above 850, next move potentially up to 960, $10, and then over here up to 1040. So still potential move that it could happen, and the moving averages on the shorter term time frame on the daily are moving to the upside. Building materials too. So it's interesting to see. Bitcoin, GBTC as a potential to trade Bitcoin. Bitcoin has been surging, hit 16,000 with the dollar potentially dropping with further stimulus or just more money being printed, that people might turn to commodities and Bitcoin and Ethereum as potentials for putting their capital. Also, when you have PayPal, you have a lot of the online pay resources using Bitcoin and Ethereum as accepted forms of currency. That's it's already starting to be accepted. So it's important to pay attention to that and see that over here on the daily chart. We almost have a cup and handle, right? So our little cup and a handle formation. Will it break out? Let's do an auto over here, make it a little bit bigger, right? So we have a nice little cup and handle. This did not pull down more than 50% over here, and now it's starting to curl back up. If we break the $70 mark, watch out. Let's see, where would we go? If we break 70, the high right here, we'll use this, 29 points. So, hey, 29 from 56. 29 plus 56. There's a little target for you guys, $85 for Ethereum, ETHE for the trust for trading it. What about bonds like TLT? Let's look at TLT really quickly. Bonds I am not really into lately because of all of the government manipulation with buying bonds. So even though we've been moving up, they can still prop these up by buying them. So looking at it, hey, we have a M formation. If we break below 155, watch out. You see also there was buying that came in here. So I don't know, maybe that was the government saying, no, we're not going to let this drop down further, right? Because this is a treasury bond. So they have the ability to buy, I think they're buying maybe it's $26 billion. I don't remember the number. I'll have to find it for you. All right, so we have Bitcoin, also salt. Salt on the daily chart over here, we have a bit of a cup and handle, right? We have the cup and the handle. So if we can break above 1340, let's give it a target, $3 roughly to the upside, 250. So we've broken the trend a bit here, so maybe up to $15, which wouldn't be weird. Look at how it sold off down here. So maybe a $15 target for salt for marine shipping. And And let's look at Nintendo. So Nintendo on the daily chart, of course, this is really erratic with gaps because it is traded, I believe, on the Japanese Nikkei exchange. It is a foreign company, and so that's why you have those gaps. Oh yeah, I just did our bat scientist. I just went over TLT. That 155 is a price level to watch for the downside. But the governments are potentially manipulating them and buying it, the US government. So here, if we broke below 60.90 during the active trading session, but then again, this does gap, right? And on the weekly, it's almost easier to see because there's less gapping. Looks as if it bounced off of the 21 EMA over here. This looks like a cleaner chart, interesting. And we have this downward, whoops. There's a trend there, and I would almost be inclined to draw it right here too, so that if we bounce and close up above, but we start to see that the moving averages are curling over on Nintendo. Now, what happens going into the end of the year on average, right? September, we tend to pull back into November, first week of November. Well, that's where we are now, right? And then it tends to surge higher. How about the year before? What happened the year before? Had a downward turn all the way into December 21st. Well, the market was also correcting right then. How about this November? This November, it had a bit of a pullback. Let's zoom in here. Right here. Right? So it pulled back into the first week. Then we had moves up into the third week of November, just at the third week, Thanksgiving time, and then it pulled back into the end of December and then moved higher. So looking back in the past, it seems like going into that third week, Nintendo tends to do well. But after that, maybe buy after Christmas, potentially, for seasonality on it. So LCA, looks like I mapped this one out before. On our daily chart over here, let's bring this forward. Yeah, we'll look at the EVs for sure, Arky. So over here, this is pulling back, bounced. If this could really break above 14, there's a chance that this could move higher, right? For LCA, on the weekly chart, it has had a downward trend, bounced off of the 50 simple moving average, has earnings, one of the earnings. They just happened on Friday. All right, so it has this resistance right here. If it could break above $13.50, I'd watch for that $14 test. If it breaks above 14, probably the completion of this cup, right? You see the cup and then the handle. So this could be that handle breakout for LCA. FSR. FSR, nice weekly charts broken out. And I don't know about the float levels here. We have a big gap to the downside down to 14.94. However, it was able to close above resistance in the past, which is good. If this breaks above 18.20, my little one just walked in, then we might see a bigger move up to 19 and then on up to $20. We also have COMM right here. I'd watch it for breaking above $11 to the upside. Might pull back a little bit, but very strong. I wouldn't be surprised if this gapped up on Monday, seeing that. And look at how on the weekly, it's got nice space to potentially come on up to 13.11 over here. All right. Oops, I'm going back way. Fastly. I'm going to turn off my camera really quickly here, guys. And let's see. There we go. All right. So, right here on Fastly, we have on the daily chart over here on the left, we're hitting the moving average, but it does look like it's got that potential to bounce up here. Do have a small position in Fastly from the drawdown. It was so dramatic, and now it's bounced off of this 200 exponential moving average and moving to the upside here. Would watch for it to break above 86.60 to the upside, as with all these moving averages coming together. Then we have PLTR. Yeah. So PLTR had a nice pullback, draw back down to the averages, right? That rubber band snap back, and then move forward. Oh, you know what, Samuel? I'm very conscientious after having a lot of negative stuff about, people manipulating my pictures. I try to keep my little ones off the camera. You can hear her voice if she chooses to talk, but I try to keep her off the camera. All right. Actually, I'll take this off too. Okay, so you guys wanted to see ego. Because the world is not a kind place, and until they choose to also be on social media, I'm going to keep them off. Let's just get rid of this trend line, and let's draw a new one over here. So on our daily, this is still an upward motion. We have a bit of resistance. Let's see, we have more of like a upward trend. And breaking out, we could see if it breaks 1430 that it could really catapult. Let's also look at SLV. SLV has had big price action, big movement, and it's still riding the 20 simple moving average on the daily chart. And GLD, you guys can see it's easier to see as well on the weekly chart. Let's adjust this over here, and then right here. So we have this wedge. I'm going to get rid of this trend line here, channel. Let's even adjust this over here. Every time it came here, except for this one day, you can see on this day, big volume came into it right as it was testing this trend line. Now, where are we? We're above it, but we haven't broken out one direction or the other just yet, right? They couldn't hold it up here, and they couldn't hold it down here. Yet, it's more like an equilateral triangle to me, right? So if we go back to measure this move, 20 points. So hey, if this breaks out from 180, likely going to see 200, or if we break down from 175, coming back down potentially to 155 to measure that move. Oh, this actually, I didn't measure very well. Correction on that, guys. I want to measure from here. 1824. So yeah, 220, no, 1824, 200 and 200, yeah, and then to the downside, 158. So roughly right here, or 154. No, 154. Right? And what else did you guys? Baba. Let's see. Let's look at Baba. So Baba is pulling back. We can move this over here now. It's not very accurate. All right, so on the weekly chart, look at that. What a bearish week it had. Coming down and testing this wedge or triangle on the chart over here. Will it be able to hold 247? It might end up being an area to watch of 247. Thank you, Kyle. I didn't add it on. Thank you for letting me know again. I knew I was missing one. So DPW. DPW looks as if, let's zoom it in over here. So we have a bit of an upward trend right there. And over here, it has just closed above, right? The downward trend on the daily chart. Volume is higher than expected. I would look more for a confirmation above, I'd look above 180 as well for a move to the upside for a cup and handle. And we measure that move from here to 180, 34 cents, so up to 214 as a potential target. And you'll see that there's less resistance there. So if we break 214, look at how 214 is also over on the left, a resistance level right here. We might see that there'll be a bigger move after that. And look at how this was a resistance in the past and it acted as support. Oh, cool. Very nice. So this is relation to the electronic vehicles. All right, so let's go and look at Epxv. So Epxv on the daily chart, was it any wonder, honestly, that it pulled back at all? No, right? Look at this weekly chart. It went from 19 to 50 in 2 weeks. Is that a normal move? No, that's parabolic, right? ER next week, earnings report. Okay, we'll add Futu here. I'll put it up over here. Okay, so this had a crazy move for 2 weeks, still extended, could easily pull back down to 35 and still remain in that upward motion for this crazy extreme trend. Usually, you know, when you have a trend higher than 45 degrees, it's really extreme. So this is 51, right? 90 would be straight up, and then obviously 0 would be flat. So this is a bit, let's see, 45 would be down here roughly. So it's more extreme. The more extreme the angle of incline or decline, the faster that it will break, right? So we also saw that BABA had a pretty fast decline, right? Look at that decline for the week. If we draw it up here, we draw from our high down here, right? We have a 78-degree decline. So this might be the day, last Friday, where we break that and we could see it surge higher. Yeah, there's a lot of gaps in Epxv, and when I actually went and did the research on them, they are up, they've raised something like over $32 billion. And how many cars did they sell total? And this company has been around since 2014, 11,000 cars. $32 billion valuation off for 11,000 cars seems inflated to me. I think the realistic reality is this could easily come back down to $22 and lose 50% like that. All right, so let's look at NEO as well. Yeah, that's right. Did you watch it, Kyle? And for anybody, I know I keep talking about the China Hustle on Netflix. I think it might only be on Netflix in Canada, but it is available Amazon Prime in the US. So check out China Hustle on Amazon Prime as well. Exactly, Mark. Yes. Have you seen the China Hustle? Watch it. Okay, it's on Hulu. Okay, guys, so Kyle's saying that the China Hustle is on Hulu as well. So watch it. Watch it, watch it, watch it. Educate yourself on what you're investing in, especially if it's a foreign company. It's really important to know. So here we have the upward trend, right? Let's check and see how extreme is this. This looks like a bit more like a 45. Yeah, 44 degree. So this isn't as crazy and wild, still pretty erratic. Yeah. Well, I got a little sneak preview to tell you guys that I have been asked to be on Dan David's podcast too. So that's pretty cool. You can see here, look how this is 20 degree, 15 degree angle. Then it broke and it surged really quickly. Exactly, Julio. These remind me of Lucan. You know, even Baba is a Chinese company. Now, you know, Baba invested, the guy from Baba invested in Xpeng, the car company. And then we also have Li. So I really try to stick to US companies for longer term investing. based on the fact that their reporting is prosecutable in the US. All right, so we've got Lee here. We've got my little 3-year-old learning on my lap while we're doing this. You would put your money in American Airlines first, and you know how that dodgy that could go. Well, we'll also look. So here's Lee as well. Pretty calm range. However, look at the surge to the upside in one day. It was no wonder that it was going to come back. Even if it comes back down to 25 from 40, $15 drop, it's still in that upward trend. And so many people need to be aware that this crazy, when it goes parabolic, that's the momentum trade. And as quickly as it goes up, it can drop like a rock. Also, let's check out jets and see, because if they are doing more stimulation in the US economy, yeah, jets, liking jets, that it's surged up a little bit here. So on our weekly, we are just below that 50 simple moving average. If we could break above 22, hey, look, a nice move up to 24.60, right? Completion almost of like a cup and handle, sort of reversed wide. But this could surge back up higher when the talks of stimulating the airlines really happens. All right, you guys have any other questions for today or any other stocks that you'd like to check out? Let's see if we even have Lucan on here. Nope, not anymore. Gone. How about Elfin? Remember Elfin as well? That was another one. Yeah. Elfin. Now traded on the European exchanges. COM. Let's go look at COM. Did I miss that for you? All right, so COM right here on the weekly chart. Looks like we have a bit of a wedge on the weekly. I know you're tired, love. Thank you for being quiet. So we have a little bit of a wedge on the weekly. It's testing, right? If I draw this back to this candlestick right here, it tested it and then it drew back. So this is the first, second, third. This could be a fourth test, and we could see that this could potentially move further. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is that sixth test. Maybe this will be that Elliott wave, move up to 13.11 over here. Oh, Ben, you know what? My personal opinion on NEO, Lee, and XPEV is awesome for day trading. I would not hold on to these long term. That's my personal opinion, right? This is pretty extreme right here for a daily. So this could still pull all the way back down to 25, and it would still move forward. We'll see what happens with earnings. Maybe it'll be a crazy Monday where NEO, XPEV, and LI all move in tandem in relation to the earnings on NEO. So back here, it had 8-cent surprise. What's the projected? Negative 18 cents. So maybe if NEO goes down based on the negatives that happen, so will XPEV and LI. And we'll see what happens to the market in general. As well, when we look at the seasonality, it tends to pull back on the SPY for that third week of November. And hey, look here, we're going pretty erratic, right? This is a pretty steep upward trend, and it broke, right? That's not abnormal. We had a crazy parabolic move. Now, if we pull it back over, if we pull this trend line right here over to here, it's still fairly steep. And that steep trend line can really mean that it will fail and fail quickly. Let's move this down here. Why won't it let me move it? Oh, it's locked. Hold on. There we go. If I move this here to right here, hey, we could pull back down to 340 and we would still be in an upward trend on the weekly chart. So just keep all that in mind and perspective that we did have a crazy surge up over the past 3 weeks. We were all the way down here at 326, went to 364. That was roughly 40 points or 15% gain in 3 weeks. That's not rational in the market, but the market is not rational. So remind yourself, hey, there's going to be a pullback usually when we have such an extreme surge to the upside. All right, guys, have an amazing afternoon. I will see you all tomorrow at 12:15. Tuesday morning at 7:30. If you want to try out my watch list, go to cjandtrade.com and use reveal for the promo code. I think it's still roughly 67% off, or I'll make it 67% off for you guys. And Carpe Profit, seize those profits one trade at a time.